Hey everybody, thanks for joining me on this build. This custom coffee table is going to be made out of MDF board. I'm currently just transferring my image onto the MDF so it's a lot easier to cut out. So now I'm just cutting out my image using just a jigsaw. I'm cutting it out on top of my plywood grid. That way the whole piece is stabilized and I'm not hanging it off my table. So some of the pieces on this coffee table are kind of delicate and I don't want them to break once my customer gets the table. So I'm adding a second layer underneath the main logo image. It's about 1.5 inches wider than the main image. Now I'm just doing some fine tuning, sanding my edges, rounding over my edges a little bit. In case I didn't mention it, I'm using 3/4 inch MDF board for this table. The legs are going to be out of 1/2 inch MDF board. And here I'm just cutting the second layer. I'm just putting a round over on all the edges, top, bottom of both layers. So now I'm cutting out the circles for the base of the table. These are 10-inch diameter circles out of 1/2 inch MDF board. I'm going to be cutting them out using my circle jig on my Shopsmith bandsaw. So now I'm cutting out the main structure of the legs. They'll be nailed to the 10-inch circles we just made. And this is also 1/2 inch MDF board. So the legs are basically square hollow tubes. And after I get them all put together and sanded up and smooth, I'll go ahead and attach them to the 10-inch circle bases. So here's the final step in construction. I ship these without the legs attached, and a very simple way for the customer to attach them is just to slide the legs over this structure and screw them directly to it. Alright, so here's the first coat of paint. It's taken me a little bit of time to figure out the best way to paint MDF. It's not the easiest thing to paint because once paint gets on those edges, it just wants to raise up all the fibers. So what I do, I hand paint my first coat, and once it dries, I go back and sand with a 220 grit sandpaper, getting it as smooth as I possibly can. Put on a second coat, and if it's still not smooth enough to where I want it, I go ahead and put on a third primer coat, and just keep doing that same process until I'm happy with the smoothest to put on a final coat. So I think I have a 220 or 260 grit paper on my orbital and a really fine drywall sponge. Alright, so we're about finished up here. I'm just connecting the two layers together. And next I'm going to be putting on a clear coat. I haven't mentioned it yet, but I use water-based paints. And I also use a water-based clear coat sealant, which is going on right now. Hey everybody, thanks for sticking around for this MDF coffee table build. If you haven't already done so, please hit the like button and also the subscribe button if you'd like to get notified on new videos. Until next time, be safe and God bless.